Hey folks, I'm Chris, and I'm your Commander Mechanic, and welcome to the Edge of Eternities Commander Roundtable. Tonight, we are supporting the Trevor Project, raising donations while talking the new Magic the Gathering set, Edge of Eternities. If you are looking to donate, hit Command Donate in chat. And remember to donate in $5 increments because we're going to be giving away amazing prizes at the end of tonight's show, ranging from Infinite Tokens prize packs to the new Commander Precons from Edge of Eternities. We're getting close to one of our goals for another Commander Precon being added to the pool. So remember to donate and stick around to the end of tonight's session to find out the winner. Be sure to include your Twitch handle or your email in your donation note so we know how to get a hold of you too. But without further ado, I want to pitch it to our amazing cast tonight. Welcome, friends. Let's go around the table and introduce ourselves. Anna Margaret, starting with you. Why don't you tell us who you are, where we can find you, and what would your spacecraft name be?
Okay, that last one is going to be the question that holds me up. Hi, my name is Anna Margaret. You can find me everywhere online at It's Anna Margaret. I'm so excited. I've been joking that I think Wizards of the Coast looked inside my brain when planning sets because not only was I so excited about Final Fantasy, but as somebody with a background in physics, I'm so excited for Edge of Eternities. I'm actually a third-generation physicist. My dad's an astrophysicist, so I grew up going to the observatory with him, and I'm so excited. Now, the spacecraft question is the real tricky one. I love Star Trek more than anything, so let's just pretend in this hypothetical that I'm captain of the Enterprise, and so my starship will be called Enterprise.
Fantastic. Well, welcome once again, Anna Margaret. Love to have you out. And we've got a new face tonight. Tom, welcome to the show. Why don't you let everybody know who you are, where we can find you, and what would your spacecraft be named?
Hi, I'm Tom Lum. I'm Tom Lum on all the places. I have a very fortunately SEOable name. Thank you, parents. But yeah, I also felt like I was going to open with, I felt like the set was designed for me, but I'm glad to be in good company then because I make science stuff on the internet. I'm a tremendous nerd. I co-host the podcast Let's Learn Everything on the Maximum Fun Network. And I host a science game show in New York. I started doing that called Our Findings Show. But yeah, you can find all of that at tomlum.com. And I think my ship name would be I wrote this down. It works better on paper than it does out loud, but I'll give it a shot. The Atomizer.
Oh, got it.
That's good.
Yeah, we get the joke. We get that one. Well,
that's the best reaction you want from a joke is an audience of people to all simultaneously go, I got that.
You want to make sure everyone understands. So
yeah,
it's good. We're on the same page.
Welcome, Tom. Really excited to have you here. Thanks for coming out. And also returning guest, Andrew Schmandrew Art. Welcome once again, my friend. Why don't you let everybody know who you are, where we can find you, and what would your spacecraft be named?
So I'm Andrew Thompson, or Schmandrew Art. I have a couple Magic cards out, and then also I did art for the collector booster packs and the boxes of collector boosters for Edge of Eternities. You can find me at Schmandrew Art. Hell yeah, I haven't even gotten one of those yet. I'm so excited. Sorry. So you can find me at schmandrewart.com or schmandrewart for most social medias. And my ship name, because I saw this the other day in the show notes and was like, I'm not going to be caught off guard by this. I would choose the Cerulean because it's a color name and it also sounds like a cool ass ship name.
Definitely. Love that one. You got to paint it a good cerulean blue too, right?
Yeah.
I think that'd look amazing out there in space.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
Wouldn't hide at all anywhere. Be like, where's Andrew? Right there.
Yeah.
Just like in real life.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Well, welcome, Andrew. Excited to have you out once again. And welcome once again to my partner in crime, Claybee. As usual, my friend, why don't you let everybody know who you are, where we can find you, and what would your spacecraft be named?
Sure. Hi, friends. I'm Claybee. I'm part of the C&C Power Hour. So as Chris said, I am it feels weird to say the face. Like I'm the one who's on here every round table. And these days, this is pretty much the only place that you can find me live, but you can find me on any socials under Claybee. If you search that, I'll show up. Just look for the B. That's in my little thing right there. I had a good ship name because unlike what Chris just said, I do actually have the ship notes. And I don't know if this again sounds better written down than said out loud, but the Archive.
Yeah, nice.
And so I was like, both like an archive research ship, but then also like a bee pun.
Very nice, very nice. Well, welcome, Clay, once again. And I think that my ship name would be the Reliable, largely because I am always here. So that's where you can find me, here and everywhere online as your mechanic. I also feel like a ship named the Reliable would be like cobbled together and would be like super Frankenstein from other ships, but would always get you there. I love that. All right, awesome. Well, we've already had some of you say that this set feels like it was made for you. So what do we think about the themes within this set? If it's made for you, why was it made for you in particular? What resonates so well? Andrew, why don't we start with you? You made some of the art for this set. You made some of the packaging art for this set. Definitely within your wheelhouse from a style standpoint. But does this set really resonate with you?
Short answer, yes. I love sci-fi stuff. Always been into sci-fi and fantasy stuff. And the reason I actually got picked to do the packaging art for the collector boosters was an original piece of mine called Anticipation that's like a space themed piece. And the art director that I worked with came to me and was like that piece of mine was in the reference imagery that they sent me. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like I know what they want. And so it was really cool to have like, that kind of payoff and validation of, oh, this personal illustration I did is now, getting carried over and they want me to do, magic, but in space. And so I was really excited about that. I was also very excited to do some named characters and do like portraits because I love doing portraits. And in general, like I think it's really interesting too going into a set like this because they haven't done something like this before. And so not to go all Star Trek, but it's, like the, was it? Now my brain just went blank. It's kind of like, this unknown that we're going to go and explore. And so it's very much like that.
Nice. Yeah, and your art fits this to a T, without a doubt. It's got to be a really nice nod to have your art in the reference notes for the set. Like that's got to be pretty cool, right?
As an artist, it definitely feels you're like, hell yeah. Like
very cool, very cool. Well, Tom, how about you? What resonates so well from a sci-fi standpoint with this set for you?
Yeah. So I've always had the opinion that, I feel like a lot of people feel like when you learn about science that it sort of demystifies some of the stuff. But I've always been of the opinion that like the more you know about science, the more you can come up with then further better sci-fi concepts and really embrace like I think all the like when I saw Solthera, right? And all the black hole imagery, I always think back to like we only started like drawing black holes like that only like 10 years ago, right? And now it looks so badass and it's based off of real like the real actual thing it looks like. And so I'm always like of that opinion, and I feel like this set really captured that. We're gonna talk later about some of our favorite art, but yeah, look at that, man. But I think also all the stuff inspired by like or that looks like astrophotography is also so great. But the on another personal note, another reason why, and then I'll finally stop talking about the set because but I just am so hyped is one of the cards that got me into Magic was Chaos Warp. Just like when I was looking through a friend's bundle of cards, it's one of the first cards that stuck out, and I think this version of it is great, but also, I mean, the warp aspect of it and is just yeah, it's great. I'm a big fan.
Amazing. Yeah, the themes here are absolutely incredible, absolutely on point. And Anna Margaret, you said as a third generation astrophysicist,
Just
resident,
physicist.
just
My dad's the
physicist.
astrophysicist. I
Astrophysicist,
didn't
just a
study
physicist.
astrophysics, but I love it. And actually, like bouncing off of what Tom said, it's the black hole. I was just like squealing because you think about like when they rendered Gargantua, I think in Interstellar, is that what they called it? And how it took like so long. And it was like the most accurate rendering of a black hole we had for media. Like I think it's so fun when media explores sci-fi.
Yeah, and this set in particular, with this being Magic's really first set exploring sci-fi themes like this, and space and outer space, and some concepts that we haven't really seen in Magic before, it conjures up the old saying, is it that was it technology sufficiently
Any sufficiently
advanced,
advanced technology is
indistinguishable
from
from
Magic. The
Magic.
Gathering TM trademark Wizards of the Coast.
Exactly.
That's the full quote, right?
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and that's exactly what this kind of set brings to my mind here as well. Is sci-fi and Magic are kind of two sides of the same coin here, and I think that blending some of these concepts works really well, especially in this set. Clay, what do you think about this set and some of the sci-fi elements? How does it resonate with you?
It resonates really well. I think that, kind of similar to everybody else, that there's something that like really tickles. Like, this is an area that I've always enjoyed and been interested in. So to get to experience it in Magic is really exciting. It feels kind of like Kamigawa with the Neon Dynasty, where I had all of a sudden what I knew of Magic, but in this aesthetic and technology and all of this other stuff that is kind of just like felt like elevating multiple interests together. And I think that recently, last few years, some of my favorite world building in media has been Magic systems that are science-based. So it'll be like there's spells, magic, but it's like code underneath, like that's what power, like stuff like that, like that melding of the two is like always really cool to me. And I am did not grow up as a Star Trek person, but I did grow up with the Star Wars extended universe and all of the novels and stuff. So a lot of this feels like art that I could close my eyes and picture in those novels. Like, we didn't get a lot of physical like art, like illustrations and stuff for those, but like I can see that world in this. And so like I just love it. It's everything from like the story to the aesthetic of it is just awesome.
Yeah, I think Crab Baskets in chat says it great. A lot of the art in here is like the 80s or 90s sci-fi pulp art kind of things that we would expect from these sci-fi shows that we'd watch during that era too. And going, Clay, from your reference for Kamigawa Neon Dynasty to now, Neon Dynasty kind of planted the seeds for something this sci-fi in Magic, because we saw things like light swords and neon signs, and now we're getting spaceships and we're getting black holes and jet propulsion. It seems like a natural progression here. Anna, what do you think?
Well, what I wanted to comment on is like we actually did sort of kind of have a sci-fi set if you squint with Unfinity. And I know lots of people had like contentious feelings, but I loved it Unfinity. I thought that like the space Shockland, like the planet Shocklands and like the space, and how that was our first time we had an alien. Actually, even before Doctor Who, we got an alien type in Unfinity. And I feel like I heard somewhere that sometimes designers will use like the unsets to kind of trial or test mechanics. So kind of building off what you're saying, Chris, with like Kamigawa kind of paving the way, I feel like also Unfinity really kind of paved the way for us to have this fully fleshed out sci-fi set. And I'm thrilled. It does make it difficult now. We have to pick between the two types of Shocklands they've introduced in these two different sci-fi sets, the Unfinity Shocklands and Beautiful Basics, or now Edge of Eternities Shocklands and Beautiful Basics. So.
Yeah. I think one of the big benefits is that you can get either one in these galaxy foil finishes as well. And I don't know about you, but I am a huge fan of these galaxy foil finishes, and being able to get Shocklands in either treatment in the same galaxy foil is fantastic. Love those. Right?
I'm so glad we learned the right lesson from that Infinity, because I feel like two paths diverged in the wood, and we could have easily ended up with a clown set instead if they were like, that's what people liked about this.
Hey, just wait until they lay out 2026 for us and all of the sets that are coming, because we're gonna get like a Dark Carnival set.
I don't want to
coming.
do art for that set.
That's-
Hold
that's-
on, wait, no,
that's-
that is good.
That's the
I think you're
Lorwyn.
cooking. I think
That's
you're
the
cooking.
Lorwyn set is Dark Carnival
Dark
clouds.
Carnival.
Kinda, yeah.
Oh, well, so I mean, on the point that we mentioned about magic and technology being so closely related, how do we feel about that concept now that it's in Magic? Can we look to see spacecraft in our regular Magic sets now, or is this something that we want to keep confined to our sci-fi set specifically? Is this something that's going to bleed over more now that that concept of there are black holes that exist, there is jet propulsion that exists in Magic universe? Is this something that we might see throughout the rest of Magic? Clay, how do you feel about that if we see this throughout quote unquote regular Magic sets?
I think it's fine. I mean, like, there is something about, like, even going, like, timeline wise, like Brothers War, and then like more modern, right? Like Kaladesh, either, right? Like the Neon Dynasty, like there's not, it doesn't feel like too big of a leap to go from like we have Parhelion to like we have a ship that is the part like can break the atmosphere. It like basically is like the line, right? And like when you have especially let's not call it Kaladesh anymore, but like with that Avishkar, is that what it's
Avishkar, yep.
Avishkar is what it's called now. But like with the filigree art and their like engineering, like they built like the planar bridge and like all kinds of stuff. Like it really doesn't feel like a stretch anymore. That like now we can take the vehicles and go into space with them. So I'm totally cool with it. I don't think that there's anything too like off with it. I don't know if we'll ever get like blasters, since I know Mark Rosewater has his issue with like art and guns, so we might just stick with like light swords and stuff, but it's fine to me.
Yeah, well, the planar bridge is a Stargate anyway, as it is, right? And something like the Predator flagship is something that looks like a spacecraft enough. The only thing that needs to do is break the atmosphere, and it is. I think that you've got a great point there, that maybe even before Neon Dynasty, these sets like Avishkar, set on Avishkar, really set a new bar in terms of technology in the background of Magic, and is laying some of the seeds for this even earlier as well. Right. Tom, what do you feel about this? Do we think that we're going to see things like spacecraft in regular Magic sets, beam swords in more of our regular settings? Is this something that's setting a new precedent for Magic?
What I hope, and I think what is really interesting about setting it this particularly in the Edge, is the sort of like, you talked about like, will this bleed into Magic? I think it'd be really cool if it like leaked in, like you just got subtle droplets where it's like, wait a second, because I mean, when the sliver card drop, I feel like the feeling was like, that's not what I'm sorry, what? Or the the Eldrazi is that feeling of like, wait a second, how this, it's like feeling like anachronistic, but like in a good way, where you're like, wait, something must have happened for this to end up here. I think is great. But I think also, to Claybee's point, there's a lot of stuff. Well, I was reminded of, and I forget the set, but there were these god cards that were like astronomical signs, or they were drawn out like constellations, and that reminded me a lot of some of the art in this set. And I was like, yeah, there are many ways to in many ways looking out into space and wanting to either see it or explore it is something that is universal to all sets. So I think there is something in it that definitely can come back to it from any set.
Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. Anna, do you think that we're going to see some of this in quote unquote regular non-sci-fi set Magic sets?
Yeah, like kind of building on what people have said before, I kind of feel like sci-fi was here the whole time. Like when you look back to like, what we saw on like Average Car, but also in Brothers War with the mech suits, we had like power suits.
Mhm.
That feels, I think, like sci-fi, or even just the fact that there's artifacts that could become artifact creatures. I don't know. I kind of feel like there's been sci-fi elements sort of in Magic the whole time. And so I think that it would be almost seamless to just continue, because as you're exploring, different planes, each plane has its own concept of a vehicle. Now that like vehicles have become kind of like a pervasive type that we're seeing across different sets, and while those vehicles look different, like as we continue to explore more planes, like I think that we're going to keep seeing it. Also, I had the thought, I was like, oh, now there's a black hole, but then it occurred to me, I'm like, for our current understanding of the universe, there's probably been black holes in all these other planes too. Like their universe probably like as a black hole, like it's been there, we just haven't gotten a card yet. So I hope that they keep kind of like sprinkling sci-fi in.
Absolutely. Clay, you've got something to add to this.
Just it like sparked the memory of it when Anna said about the like artifact creatures, was that I saw on Blue Sky that there was conversation about the spiritual differences between a robot, a construct, a golem, like those different things. And somebody, I cannot remember who was it now, but somebody had the chance to ask Mark Rosewater, and his response was effectively vibes. So I so basically now that we have like that indistinguishable magic science, right? Like here we call it science and it's a robot. Here it's a magic system, so we call it a construct, or it's a combination of it, so it's a construct. And here it's more magic based, so it's a golem, like that kind of thing. But I just loved that he was like, whatever fits our need and vibes at the time. Like even in I think in this set, like there are constructs, but then there are robots, and you know what I mean. So like that line is always fascinating. And so I think that kind of speaks to that. It's been here the whole time.
Love it. Absolutely. Andrew, what do you think? Are we going to see some of these more sci-fi themes bleed into regular Magic sets?
Yeah, I kind of agree with everybody else here. I think it's definitely going to happen. And I was also thinking like it would be really cool if they did a set where it was all about like, an invasion from space. And so like spaceships coming in and like the inhabitants of that plane having to defend themselves. Like it could be cool if it was something like Lorwyn, where it's like magic versus like kind of fairy tale versus like spaceships and sci-fi. But it could also be cool to do like Mirrodin, because like one, I'm also just biased, I want to see modular come back. Like give me the arcbound things, give me all of them.
Yeah, I think that'd be a really cool concept, and like a bit of a dialing in from this very space set to a planet-bound set that has elements in space as well. I think that it'd be a cool crossover, and would be one of these like plane invading plane kind of sets. Where we could really see that crossover potential. I think that'd be super neat. And we talked about some of these things that can be or could be construed as sci-fi in Magic's past, like power suits and some of the vehicles. And I think that those have always been kind of like closed love letters and references to sci-fi throughout Magic's past. And this set is really the biggest open love letter to sci-fi that we get. This is like it's all out in the open. Nobody's hiding that this is not very clear references to some of our favorite sci-fi set movies and TV shows and media throughout our lives. And it's great to finally get something that's this unabashedly of a love letter to sci-fi. Tom.
Just wanted to add, if we go full Independence Day, then you can have a card, a Will Smith card, or an incident or sorcery that says like "Welcome to Lorwyn" is the Will Smith line from Independence Day.
And it's an inhabitant punching an invader.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. Love it. All right. Well, before we move on to our next set of questions, I wanted to remind everybody out there in the audience that we are taking donations tonight for the Trevor Project. Make sure to hit Command Donate in chat and donate in $5 increments to be entered into our draw for prizes at the end of tonight's session. We'll be giving away an Infinite Tokens prize pack, and we're just on the precipice right now of giving away one of those precons from the set too. So make your donations now and get entered into that draw. Additionally, we're going to be doing a Q&A for the panel at the end of tonight's session. So use the Channel Points Redemption Ask a Question, just costs a single point, in order to highlight your question for the audience. All right, and we'll get to those all by the end of tonight's session. Okay, so next up, this is off of the Edge of Eternity set is off of the back of the Final Fantasy set right now. We just got a Universes Beyond set, followed by a Universes Within set, main core Magic universe set. Understanding that both serve their purposes, are you a bigger fan of Universes Beyond sets or these Universes Within sets? I want to give it to our panel for their feedback. Anna, what do you think? Are you a bigger fan of some of these Universes Beyond sets like Doctor Who and Final Fantasy, or some of the Universes Within sets like Edge of Eternities?
You know, I'm very easy to please. I really like the Magic stories. I also have just happened to feel very targeted by every Universes Beyond. Like I love Final Fantasy. Doctor Who's like my favorite thing, and like even Clue. Like I grew up like loving the board game Clue, and they did like a Clue crossover, and so I seriously feel like I'm being like very targeted for my favorite things. So, but like for me, I think that I really enjoy playing Magic. And I really enjoy the Magic story. And so that's something that we get in Universes Within sets that I think is really fun. And I've been listening to the Edge of Eternity story, like they read it aloud on YouTube, and that's been so much fun to have on in the background. But then again, on the other side, I feel like Universes Beyond has been such a great way for me to wrangle all of my friends and family into playing Magic with me. So I like both. I'm just really happy. I feel like all of the sets lately have been so strong and so fun and like interesting and vibrant and unique. I think maybe the only one that I was a little bit nervous about was like Duskmorn, because I'm a little bit of a squeamish bean. But even that one, like I loved it. It was such a great set and it ended up being like such a wonderful story. I've just been very happy. So both. I like both.
Amazing. Andrew, how about you? Bigger fan of the Universes Beyond, Universes Within sets, and is it a relief to get back to a Universes Within set after something as sprawling as Final Fantasy?
So for me, like I definitely prefer the Universes Within sets, but mostly it's because most of the Universes Beyond sets that have come out in the last couple of years are things that I don't have any connection to, and so I feel fake for like if I get the packs or if I get the cards, because I don't want to play the card and then somebody's like, "Oh, I love Doctor Who. David Tennant's great," and I'm going to be like, yeah, like so for me it's definitely something where I view Universes Beyond, especially the more recent ones like Final Fantasy and Doctor Who, as kind of a break for me to kind of like shut down and not pay attention to Magic content and promos and things like that. And then it's like a nice little refresher then when the next Universes Within set comes out, because then I'm like, oh, like cool, like I've had my break, I've had my time away, I've been off of social media, like I'm ready to go.
Nice. Yeah, again, it's important that not every set is for everyone. Some people do need breaks and do need breathers. It is healthy that way too. So pick and choose what you engage with. It's a big part of it.
And I'm very happy for all the people that love Final Fantasy, love all the different IPs that they keep bringing in. It's just most of those just aren't for me, and I'm like, cool, I'm happy for you. I will happily play against your SpongeBob SquarePants deck. Like, let's go.
Nice.
I guess that's maybe the one that wasn't for me. I've never seen SpongeBob. Everything else we could be like, oh yeah, they're targeting me, but maybe that one.
I can also very much relate, Anna Margaret, to the like feeling targeted by WotC, because back when War of the Spark came out and they dropped the trailer with Linkin Park's in the end, I was like, this is for me. Like, it's two of my favorite things in one. I was
Oh.
so excited. So I absolutely can relate to that feeling.
Meanwhile, I was looking at War of the Spark, going, I get 36 planeswalkers in like the Japanese alternate art. I am so targeted right now. Like the trailer was cool, but I did watched it once and was like, that's
I
fine.
watched
But I
that
was
trailer
looking.
so many times and showed it to so many people.
Nice.
I do feel like sometimes though the trailers have like worked to pull me into a set, because that's really why I got into Magic, was Olivia Crimson Bride in the Crimson Vow trailer. Like I remember watching that and everybody was like sending me screenshots. They're like, "Are you gonna cosplay her? Like this is just right up your alley. Are you gonna do this?" And I'm like, "What is Magic?" And now here we are.
Nice. That Crimson Vow trailer was another all-timer too. The whole like getting ready for the wedding, and then it turns out that the bride and groom are a sacrifice for the vampires. I mean, like that was another incredible trailer. I get it. Hooking people with the trailers is exactly what they're supposed to do. This is great. Clay, how do you feel about returning to Universes Within after a big Universes Beyond set? Is it more welcome to return to Magic canon, or do you like these breaks with Universes Beyond?
So I've like, I don't know, I'm in a weird place where I just don't have a lot of time right now. Like I'm not really engaging with Magic a whole lot, Universes Beyond or Universes Within, just because of like school and everything else going on. So like Final Fantasy, I'm really excited for everyone who really enjoys it. But like Chris made the joke when we were going to do the Final Fantasy Roundtable that my favorite Final Fantasy is Persona 5. And like I haven't engaged with that franchise at all. Trying to learn enough canon to understand cards was an experience. I totally cool with Universes Beyond. I think it's really like it's a good thing for them to be doing. I similarly to Schmandrew haven't really like Lord of the Rings I'm big into, so like I really enjoyed that, but like for the most part, and a lot of my interests haven't been like touched yet with those, so like it's more of a just like a hey, that's cool, I enjoy that. But the most like the run of Universes Within sets have all felt really dialed into me. So then it's like that's naturally like had me more engaged. Like since we got out of the all will be one, it feels like we're really like there's just been a series of sets like Tarkir and Bloomborough, and like I love Thunder Junction, and like all of these I'm just kind of in a row. I'm like, yes, this is a Magic story and a Magic world that I want to keep consuming. So
yeah, I absolutely love it. I think great point. Once we got out of the big crossover series, All Will Be One, Phyrexian Invasion, these little like one-off planes that we've been seeing lately have just been smashing it. I think absolutely great work by the Magic team on these stories and these sets. Tom, how about you? What do you feel about the Universes Beyond versus Universes Within split here? You like seeing us return to main Magic canon here?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I hard agree with everyone. I think for every and it's you see it all the time. I think for every person who says like, "Oh, I don't know this universe is beyond," there's another person who says like is screaming and is like, "This is exactly for me." And I think it's always nice to remember that whenever like it doesn't resonate. But I also think it is possible to do some sort of win-wins. I feel like Final Fantasy, part of the success was not only was it so tied to the IP, but the mechanics and the cards were interesting from a mechanics standpoint. As someone who's and I apologize, Anna Margaret, whose only Final Fantasy game was Dissidia on the PSP. So I'm like, yeah, what Final Fantasy? It's an arena fighting game, right? That's what it is. I know I say that because I know I have a friend who loves all the games, and I say that to hurt them. I'm like, why aren't there any Dissidia cards? But as someone who's relatively new to the Magic lore, or relatively new to Magic in general, it is really cool because picking up the lore slowly piece by piece through like cards or through like word of mouth from friends, it's amazing, and it runs so deep, and it's so cool, and it's very cool for it to be happening like in real time for me now, finally, where I'm like, oh, this is it's not, no, the lore is no longer something that has happened in the past. It's like it is still happening and still changing it. And so seeing the Magic world continue to evolve within is great as someone who's relatively new to it. I'm hyped for it.
Nice. Fantastic. We just crossed the $200 mark, everybody. Thank you for all your donations. This means that not only right now will we be giving away an Infinite Tokens prize pack, but we'll be giving away a Commander Precon from Edge of Eternities come the end of today's session. If we make it to $300 in donations, we'll be giving away a second Commander Precon tonight too. So remember to hit Command Donate in chat and donate in those $5 increments to be entered into the draw tonight. All right.
Someone in chat said that I know was like, Tom keeps making the Mr. Beast face, and I caught myself doing it there when it's like, whenever there's promotion, I'm like, you won't believe.
I should start doing it too.
Yeah. Oh, awesome.
Anything for the Trevor Project. I'll become Mr. Beast for that.
Nice. So we touched on it just slightly, but this set is not only a love letter to sci-fi, but to Magic lore and canon itself. We have references to Eldrazi's, Slivers, and Nicol Bolas all in one set. We're coming off of, now we're over a year removed from the last big crossover, but the question is, are we heading towards another crossover event when we're seeing Bolas, Eldrazi, and Slivers all referenced in the same set? Is this something that we're looking forward to? Is this something that we want to see? What does everybody think? Tom, right back to you on this one. You looking forward to seeing Eldrazi, Slivers, Bolas, perhaps all three teaming up and taking over the multiverse?
Yeah, I mean, what was the Bolas reference? On which card was that? Does someone know offhand?
Yeah, it's the end stone, the MacGuffin of the set is Bolas's gem.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
I just thought
That's
it was
someone
an
else. I'm
egg.
processing this.
I thought, but wasn't that Gem of Becoming? Wasn't, or what? Am I thinking of something else that was like? I thought that was Bolas's like.
Yeah, the whole thing is that everybody's after this one. Was it Ugin's or Bolas's? Oh, I might be confused on this one because it's somebody's gemstone, one of the twins. It's why Tezzeret's been sent into space to retrieve it, because he's Bolas's Starscream.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Now that you're saying this, it is all connecting. I
Yeah. But yes, again, we're seeing some of the biggest villain factions in all of Magic referenced in a single set. It might be only a card here and a card there, but it is the first time that we're getting reference to all of these in a single set. Do we think that the future of Magic is another one of these multi-planar crossover events?
I mean, I think it'd be great, and I think the Edge as a like setting outside, I think, is a great sort of way to do it. I love the little I mean, the fact that I'm discovering this right now is exactly my kind of favorite like lore to lead into it. So fingers crossed. But even if it doesn't happen right away, I think this mounting tension is really cool. Even if the story still exists in our minds, I would be excited for that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is also the first reference to Slivers we've had in years too, so it's got a lot of people really excited. Anna, what do you think about seeing Eldrazi, Slivers, Bolas, and Ugin references all in a single set?
I was actually really excited to see the Slivers because I feel like sometimes the sci-fi shows in particular, they kind of draw on like fear of a thing by not showing it to you. Like I'm thinking of the Alien movies, like the fact that you don't see the alien, it's this like psychological fear we have of this kind of unknown creature, and Slivers feel that way to me. And so I feel like the reference that they had in, I think it was it episode 1 or 2 of the story where they like kind of allude to the possibility of this sliver, I was like, aha, it's like the boogeyman or that you like talk about. That's like this kind of spooky thing. So I thought it fit really well. I also feel like it's fun when there's high stakes. And I've often kind of commented that I feel like, especially in superhero movies, I feel this way, or like in comic strips, that a hero is really only as strong as the villain that they're fighting. And so sometimes having these like larger than life villains or people with a legacy, like it adds this element of like a grand challenge. And so I was excited. I think the slivers fit perfectly, personally. And I think that having like big villains that make our heroes do cool things, I think fits really well.
Yeah. Magic's really been trending towards these big, massive villains and these big figurehead, cackling, calculating, unstoppable villains. I think the slivers really represent this like faceless horde of villains that are just unstoppable. It's like face huggers mixed with tribbles. And in a set like this, it's one of those you just get overwhelmed by them. And that's exactly what slivers are meant to do. They're this hive mind, this hive species, and being able to have this teased out there is another little tidbit, little morsel that gives us something to grab onto for future sets.
I learned, and I was double checking this. I learned from Jay and Ellie that if you can pull up the card Wormwall Sweeper, worm with a WURM, Wormwall on one word sweeper, there's a sliver behind the text in the card, like in the background, just as the ship is flying over. I was just like, that's perfect. That's exactly that sort of like
The
tension
boogeyman,
yeah,
like
yeah.
hanging out in the corner of your eye.
Yeah, that's super cool because from Duskmorn, we got teased that Valgavoth is this like boogeyman that's kind of crossing planes, and every once in a while you'll see a door that's not supposed to be there, and it's a door to Duskmorn. And since then, I've been keeping my eye on the art, being like, is there a strange door somewhere in the background of that art? Just wondering if there's this little like reference to that somewhere in these sets, because it's that thing that's in the back of your mind that like, don't look in the shadows kind of thing. Then it's these where it's like they hide a reference to slivers in underneath the text box of an art here that is just so Wizards laying these like little background hints here that just seems like it's so cool and teeing us up for something big. Andrew, how do you feel about this references to major villain groups and all in a single set?
I think it's different. I feel like they haven't done something like this where they like. I feel like usually when they reintroduce a villain or like a big bad, it's usually like all in, and not just a couple little sprinklings of it. And so it kind of builds that tension, I feel like. And I was writing down on a little piece of paper because I saw a TikTok earlier that touched on the Wormwall Sweeper about how Comet Crawler, Insatiable Skittermaw, and Thrumming Hivepool all have little like flavor text that reference like logs from ships of like people getting like lost and like trying to find other people. And like, I just think that's so quintessential like sci-fi, like you said, facehuggers and alien, and so it just feels cool to like have slivers kind of reference that way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited about the sliver stuff. I hope they bring more of them back in, because slivers are one of Magic's like unique things. Like, it's not anywhere else. It's not like dragons or anything like that. And I also just love the design of slivers. Like, if I could illustrate a sliver, I would be so happy. But like, I have a sliver deck. It's not a 5-color, so I'm not an awful person. It's Alesha, who smiles at death. But I just want more fun things to put in my Alesha sliver deck to make it, an actually okay deck, because right now it's pretty bad.
For an artist to say, I'm excited to draw something that is so explicitly chrome and reflective, it just shows how powerful it is that you're like, I will do that for this concept. It's that good.
I just love them. They just look like funny little like scythers. Like just give them to me.
Yeah.
Like they're
Perfect.
so cool.
Well, when we get a psychedelic sliver in a future set, we'll get some Schmandrew
Watsy,
art
hit me up.
in that one. Nice. Clay, what do you think about the references to these major villain groups all in a single set?
I think that it's interesting. I appreciate that it feels a little, it's like Easter eggy, but it's a little more clear than, like, I remember us having the conversation about the Dragonstorm clues in the sets leading up to Tarkir, and there was like such a confusion about like this was supposed to, there was one dragon in each set and these places that dragons didn't belong, and like that was the hint, and it was like, okay, no one got that one. But so like it feels like it's like walking a better line in between the, like, there's a Phyrexian Praetor on each successive set. Why are they there? And here's something so obscure no one's going to like catch or pick up on it.
Yeah.
But as far as like the villains, I am not surprised that like slivers are kind of up to bat, right? There's like the Eldrazi, there's the Phyrexians, there's the slivers, and there's Nicol Bolas, and we're kind of due for the slivers in the rotation of the big four. I'm hopeful that like it's a opportunity to get more slivers that aren't like not super broken, but like can be built into a deck that doesn't, like, by virtue of the way that they work, just take over games. Like if the deck does a thing, it just does the thing. Like there's no kind of like middle ground there. But I also hope going forward though that like we're not setting up for just like now it's the sliver war, and that like we get more like Valgavoth and more big bads and villains that are like, slivers are cool. They are kind of quintessentially Magic, like Schmandrew said, but like also it's been like 20 to 30 years of them. Like we've done a lot of story and design space with them, and so like I hope that we kind of like the monoists and like different groups, like I want to push those. I hope that they keep pushing those more, while we still get the sprinklings for what we had before, like our former big bads.
Yeah, love it. I think that's great, and it's an interesting concept to say that like slivers from here on out are still going to be slivers, but they're all going to be relatively vanilla slivers, like we're seeing on Thrumming Hivepool, where anything that makes a sliver makes a 1/1 colorless sliver, and then you've got to build out from existing slivers and old slivers in order to build that up and make them threatening. I think that'd be a great way to do them from here on out, is just make them 1/1 vanilla slivers, and their power just comes from being slivers here. It's a way to do it in the future if they continue to rear up every once in a while. All right. Well, I want to talk about specifically some of the cards from Edge of Eternities now, and specifically some of the new mechanics that we're seeing in Edge of Eternities. And let's start with the big one, the new card type here, Spacecraft. Spacecraft are really interesting and seems like a new take on vehicles. What with crewing them and putting charge counters on them, getting enters effects and static effects, and then creature type effects on them later. How do we feel about these? And of the ones printed in this set or in the Commander precons, do you have a favorite spacecraft that's been printed as well? Andrew, what do you feel about the new spacecraft, and do you have a favorite one so far?
So I think the spacecraft mechanic is really cool. I like that they made the number that you had to get to turn it into a creature is so high, because it really feels like, okay, I literally had to have a team running this spaceship and like a crew. And so I think that thematically is like, they knocked it out of the park. I think it's going to be kind of this interesting, like, kind of like thing where it's on the battlefield and people see it, and it's kind of this like, okay, it's getting closer, we need to stop it, like kind of this like imminent thing, kind of like if you're playing like Halo or any kind of sci-fi game where it's like, oh, you might see this huge ship kind of coming your way, and you're like, oh no, I need to like, prep for this, or I need to get out of here, and like, so it kind of has that impending doom feeling. I would say my favorite one, I really love cards like Dawn-Sire, where it's just like, we're gonna put a quantity of damage on this that really makes no goddamn sense, but it's gonna be fun. Like,
Yeah.
I love Aetherflux Reservoir. I love, stuff like Dawn-Sire. Going back to even the Final Fantasy set, like the cactus, like that could get plus 9,999 or whatever. Like just things like that where it's like, oh, we made a Yu-Gi-Oh card at this point. Like,
Yeah.
like
Magic players love their big numbers, and
yeah.
seeing 100 damage stapled to a card is absolutely going to get some people salivating.
Yeah, I just think it's like real silly like that. I also really love the Eternity Elevator, or I think that's what it's called. That one seems sick as hell. Like, I really want to put it in my Mendicant deck because I think Mendicant might be able to tap and station it immediately and put it at 20, and I think that would just be really funny. And so there's ways like that I think some of these can be broken, but it has to be like in such a hyper specific deck that I don't think they're gonna be too powerful. I think they're gonna be fun. And I think they add enough like variation of like vehicles to make them different.
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely. Anna, how about you? What do you feel about the spacecraft, and do you have a favorite?
I just wanted to chime in. I also love the eternity elevator. I just think the concept of an elevator going to space is just so fun.
Yeah.
Like Disney's kind of explored this with their Space 220 that they have at Epcot, where there's like this elevator you can ride up to this restaurant that they thematically have in space. It's also in, Project Hail Mary. We have kind of references to like societies using this. I just think it's like a fun little nod. I also really loved the 5-color spaceship, the Infinite Guideline Station, just because I love 5 colors. But also I think that like space stations are so fun, like being explored in Deep Space Nine or Babylon 5. This idea of like space stations that has this like these diverse communities living on it, kind of even how the mechanic fits into that. I've been able to, because I was an ambassador for the set, I got the precons a little early and I've gotten to play them a little bit. And I actually really liked the spacecrafts. I thought they were really fun as commanders, and kind of to what like Schmandrew was saying, like the impending doom, it feels really accurate because like you've got this spacecraft that's just slowly getting more terrifying. And I think that's fun because as like, people are working together to crew it up. So I actually really liked how they played as commanders. And especially with like the recent change now that vehicles, if as long as they're legendary, can be your commander. I think that was like a natural kind of shift. So now you can have, though we actually saw in Kamigawa, because like the alt commander in the Kotori Pilot Prodigy Precon was a vehicle, and at that point the only vehicle that could be a commander. And then now all legendary vehicles can be your commanders, and now we have spacecrafts. So I actually really hope that this is something they continue to explore and play around with, like having these types of like vehicles that are interesting and unique and fun and can lead your commander deck. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it gives folks a lot more to play around with, a lot more to experiment with as well. And we'll talk about it in a moment too. But this is a relatively legend light set in comparison to a lot of the sets that we've seen recently. So making the decision to let spacecraft be your commanders here is a great way to fill in some of that gap in this set in particular. Tom, how do you feel about spacecraft? And do you have a favorite one?
Yeah, I gotta agree with everyone. I love Eternity Elevator and Dawn-Sire, if only because I think Andrew hit a good point. It's like because of the effort it takes into it, the scale feels so great. The thing about crewing that amazes me is the fact that like it's somehow comes up with a new way to utilize tapping in like a novel way that also then like influences, because like you can use it to tap creatures who like want to be tapped. I'm like, how did they come up with, like, I feel like having done Magic sets for so long, we found a new way to like utilize tapping in a cool way. Blows my mind. But since those were already mentioned, I'll shout out Specimen Freighter, if only because I forget the name of the jellyfish species, but some of those designs are so truly alien. Like, not just like an alien I've seen before, but like, what is even happening? And I think that rules.
Awesome. Clay, how do you feel about spacecraft, and do you have a favorite one?
So I'm going to be the like not dissenting voice, but the one that I need to actually like play with them and experience them. My initial reaction when I saw them was, oh no, because I was looking at like that it was power based instead of like quantity based, and I was like, this is like rotting Regisar, like the like weird, like where it's like, oh, this is high power, low toughness, like downside creature that's like 2 or 3 mana. Like these things are gonna like people will build around them, and it'll just be like, oh, now I've got to deal with this 100 damage that's hitting their Brash Taunter. And if I don't have removal in that, like like that was my initial reaction, and I'm glad to hear from Anna that like that isn't how that like experience was for her. And so like I'm optimistic about it. Like I'm not one of those people that like when cards get previewed, I'm like, ban it, this is gonna ruin Commander. Like I don't like, I'm not that worried about it, but it is something that I had trepidation about, at least initially. I also like the Infinite Guideline Station. I'm planning on building a deck around it of like basically all of the different artifact creature, like construct, robot, mirror, like just kind of, and then like enough 2-colored permanents or whatever to like activate it or to like make it care about it. But like I really want to just do all of the weird little robot guys. And then, but like other than that, stylistically, the Eumidian ships, like all of the StarCraft are like Tom mentioned, the jellyfish ones, which are like really evocative of like space and the ocean are both terrifying. The things that are out there are terrifying. The Eumidian ones have like, they feel so alive, and the way that they evoke like bugs or predators, or like why do they have teeth? I think they have teeth, but like or like the world scene, like stuff like that. Like it's such a beautiful sci-fi trope of the like going and harvest this bug race, harvesting planets and terraforming and like doing all of that stuff. And I feel like the StarCraft just so perfectly embody that like concept of what they're doing and their purpose for the terraforming and stuff. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. All of the ships do have this unique look and feel to them as well, which is super appreciated. They don't just all look like generic spacecraft. The different factions all have these different, they're made out of different materials, they have different shapes to them, and they're all immediately recognizable faction-wise and color-wise as well. You could strip everything out of them, strip all of the naming and color conventions out of them, and you can tell exactly who they're from, which from a design and a style standpoint, super appreciated from me on this one at very least. I love the stylistic elements of each of these spacecraft and each of these factions. I really like some of the lower to the ground spacecraft. I think Exploration Brood ship from the Precon is hands down one of my favorite. It's just a 1 mana spacecraft, but turns into an exploration when crewed at 3, which is super low. Like, this is very, very good.
That's the only one I wasn't afraid of, because I want to play extra lands. So I saw that one, I was like, that one's fine. It's
right. But later in the game, it lets you play stuff out of your graveyard by sacrificing a land too, which is where you get some of these spacecraft that have their first mode be synergistic with their second mode as well. And I love that design space to them. I really do. There's a big investment to them. There's a whole charging your lasers kind of feel to it as well, which is super cool in this. Andrew, something to add?
Yeah, I was gonna say, when it comes to the spaceships, I thought of another reason why I really like their design. And I think it's that element of like nothing feels better than having something on the battlefield for a long time that everyone kind of forgets about. And then you suddenly get that like threshold and you hit that like, that final station number. And then that's the thing that lets you like win the game or do something really wild or crazy. I think that's going to create a lot of really fun moments. I do think there's a chance that there might be some people who don't like spacecraft for that reason because it's another thing to keep track of and remember. It's kind of like almost like a planeswalker ultimate sometimes, where it's like, oh, I need to be aware of what that does, like, so I can account for it. But I do think this feels a little bit more attainable and not so like, well, I just win the game,
Right.
like a lot of planeswalker ultimates are. Like, this feels more of like, oh, like, I forgot about that. Oh my gosh, like, well, this is wild that you're now able to, cast things from your graveyard with this little one drop spacecraft that I just wrote off as being an exploration.
Right. And I think that from a design standpoint is fantastic as well. They don't feel super overpowered when you do end up crewing them. They definitely have benefits that pay off tapping 20 power worth of creatures to them. But to your point, they aren't immediately instant wins either, which definitely a big boon, especially for the commander format as well, where, getting 20 charge counters on something will take you a turn or two sometimes. Doesn't feel like it's a game over kind of thing, crewing these spaceship up. And Tom, I think to your point, one of the big benefits of these is playing around with creatures that want to be tapped. Things like the inspired creatures like King Makar that wants to be tapped and wants to be untapped, and this is a harmless way to tap him. Or the survival creatures from Duskmourn as well that want to be tapped in the second main phase. Spacecraft are a fantastic way to harmlessly do that too, which just adds another dimension to these. You want to throw these in a deck where you want your creatures to be tapped, which is pretty cool. I immediately saw these and I thought, oh, Calamax the Stormsire wants to be tapped so that you can double up all of your instants. And this is a great way to harmlessly tap him every turn. Love it. Fantastic. Goes immediately into a deck like that. So it's some of these synergies that this new type of card is enabling. That's really interesting to me from a gameplay standpoint. So I want to see more of them. I want to see what else they do with the design space. I think that they're just scraping the surface with them right now. And I think that there's a lot more that we can see in future sets, which is super cool. Now, we did get 2 new mechanics in this set as well, in Warp and Void too. Warp being kind of the free trial of permanence, or your permanence on layaway, if it were, and Void getting benefits at the end of a turn if a permanent left the battlefield. Any opinions on these new mechanics? Anna, how do you feel?
I loved the warp mechanic. I feel like it was just so flawlessly done. Like I really like it. Both as a mechanic to like play in Magic, but also as a nod to, the warp drive, like fictitious technology that we talk about, because like I don't know, the speed of light's kind of our cosmic speed limit. And so when we have all these different sci-fi worlds trying to explore, like we have our characters travel these enormous distances without traveling faster than the speed of light, or can they? What's the technology that allows them? And so like with this idea of warp drive being that you're warping space-time around yourself, literally kind of like you're not necessarily moving faster than the speed of light, you're like warping the space-time, and so you're here and then you appear somewhere else. It's so well done. It feels like the mechanic like captures that and still shows them traveling the enormously huge distances that we see in Edge of Eternities. So I don't know. I was really excited when I read through the warp mechanic, both to play with these cards, but also just like the science nod, I thought was really well done.
Awesome. Yeah, it's kind of this, it leaves an after image kind of thing of traveling so fast. You see it for a second and then you see it somewhere else later. Yeah, it definitely plays into the themes of space travel, and traveling through the warp. Clay, how do you feel about the warp and void mechanics?
I think they're neat. Warp feels like mechanically a like cool middle ground between dash and adventure. Kind of like you kind of get this like forecasted, or I guess it's like forecast too. To speak out like an older mechanic, but like it's like you get it discounted, you get an effect, but then like you get the full effects later, and then like story wise, canonically, like Anna said, like I love those like sci-fi FTL type like explorations or explanations for like how things work. And when she was talking about it, I suddenly remembered and it's more like a magic-y feel than a science-y feel, but the Wrinkle in Time, where there's that like that idea, right, of like, well, you don't go all the way there, you just like fold the space in between the 2 points. So you're just stepping forward. You're not traveling faster, like you're not doing it. So warp kind of is like you're there, but then like the string goes back. like maybe like something like that. And then void is just who doesn't, it's like descend or what was the not revolt, but wait, was it revolt?
Revolt, yeah.
Revolt, I love value when things are sacrificed or go. That feels like the perfect mid-range kind of mechanic. Sacrificing my own things or removing other people's things and then getting rewarded for it is always a good feeling. That feels like quintessentially Magic.
Absolutely. Tom, how do you feel about these two mechanics, warp and void?
I love it so much. I think exile stuff is so interesting. I was literally it's not a warp card, but it indirectly benefits from it. I was literally bemoaning in a video like a month or two before this set that there wasn't a card I could find that like really converted like your exile into damage, for instance. And then Cosmoglyph came out and I was like, oh wow, yeah. And I think it's what was it? I think Anna Margaret's explanation of how it sort of fits into a sci-fi world is great, and I think it also it makes me so glad that the commander that gives things warp, the only one that does that is red, because that does feel like that's sort of like that's the faction that would try to do these jumps and rushes and wrinkle time,
Mhm.
But I love any mechanic that you start off and you go, oh, okay, I get it. And then, you're digging through your book and you realize like, wait, like the exact wording is very specific. I found, I was digging through the book and I found Circuit Mender. And again, is going into the Tannock because I can give it warp, but because it specifically doesn't say when it dies or when it enters the graveyard, it says when it leaves the battlefield. And I was like, right, it's a very specific wording, and if you can find something that matches it, you're like, now this is an absolutely great card. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of warp.
Awesome. Andrew, how do you feel about the two mechanics, warp and void?
There's part of me that wanted to come in here and be like, I hate both of them. But then I was like, no, I also like them a lot too. Because for me, Warp really reminds me of Evoke. And I played Type 2 when Lorwyn was originally out. So I did the shenanigans of evoking creatures and then momentary blinking them and bringing them back and not having to sacrifice them at the end of the turn. So for me, like Warp was just like this kind of like reference and love letter to evoke and this mechanic that I already love so much. Um, and then Void, like I haven't done a whole lot with like Revolt. So for me, there's not a ton of like, oh, like, that same like kind of fondness of like evoke and warp. But I do still think it's, they looked at it and they were like, well, how can we make something that kind of works well with, warp? And I feel like they adapted something really well to that. And also made it where it's like some of these cards would just be good in other decks that just care about sacrificing your own stuff. So they didn't restrict it enough that it's like, oh, it only has a life in this set
Mhm.
and, you know, limited, because I feel like they've done that in the past where they've made a mechanic and it's like, oh, that's cool, but there's not nearly enough of it to have like a payoff in like other formats. It's like, it's interesting, but like, show me more. But Void, I feel like, is the perfect kind of middle ground where it's like it works with the very set specific stuff, but also can, you know, work with other mechanics very well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Clay mentioned, it's the kind of perfect mid-range mechanic that
Yeah.
belongs in just about every set. It's like, oh, you lost something, great, you get a better
Yeah.
benefit here. You sacrifice something, you get a better benefit.
Yeah.
Anna, something that?
Okay, yes, but just it's another like nerdy science topic. I also the mechanically void is nice. I like it a lot, but also I just think that like having a mechanic that's talking about like this space is so vast. Like I don't know, when we like look at even just like in sci-fi, you see like asteroid belts that ships have to navigate through. But in reality, the asteroids would be really far from each other. Like space is so spread out and big. But I like this concept that like Magic has something for when an element leaves the battlefield, it's leaving this void. And also like we have this set that's kind of centered around this black hole. And I think that like some of the kind of like nods and references there are really neat and kind of fun, because like when we first as a like society we're even like thinking about black holes, it was with this idea of if we shrink down the mass of a star so much and there wasn't even a star there anymore, but the gravity was like still there, like that's how we first started like thinking about black holes. And so now we have this mechanic in Magic that's kind of like riffing off this idea of like when something is left, what is left behind, like this void left behind or this mechanic there. And so I think that like conceptually that's a really fun way to like incorporate this idea.
Yeah, absolutely. It fits this set perfectly. The themes of it are absolutely incredible, on point for sure. I love the warp mechanic. I think I'm going to echo everybody here that the warp mechanic is something that is really interesting and really unique. I love things like Starfield Vocalist, these effects where you get the effect on a very cheap cost for the turn that you need it, and then later can cast it for its full cost. I think that it's a perfect mechanic for Magic, and it makes a ton of sense too, especially when thinking my Johnny brain when it comes to deck building. I want to have these turns where I pop off, and instead of casting a 4 mana permanent and then doing everything that triggers with it, I can cast it for 2, pop off this turn, and then later cast it for another pop off turn later. It's along the same veins as the adventure cards and the foretell cards and the plotting cards. We're getting a lot of mechanics that play around with the exile space right now too, and I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing either.
It's so funny, and it's very indicative of how much of a red player I am, that my thing for warp is like, oh, it's so you can get a ship and dragon out faster and then hit quicker on an earlier turn. I was like, oh right, I guess you could do sort of like a that did not cross my mind.
You just want to be sneak attacking everything out. Yeah, it totally makes sense. Now, we mentioned a little bit earlier that this is a very legend light set as well, especially in comparison to some of our other sets, like Final Fantasy, that had hundreds of legends in them, seemingly hundreds of legends in them, and Aether Drift that was overloaded with legends, and some of our previous ones. This one seems a little bit lighter, especially considering that we got 2 versions of each character in this set, to an uncommon version and a rare or mythic version. Does this make it feel a bit tighter from a commander player standpoint when we get seemingly these few legends to it than a regular set? Andrew, how do you feel about this having 2 versions of each legend in a set and seemingly fewer legends than a typical set?
I mean, for me, like, I feel like sometimes in some sets there's just too many legendary creatures, and it's hard to keep track of all of them. And it also just feels like so blatantly obvious that, you know, they're creating for commander. And so it kind of feels nice, like when it's not so like blatant and just like shoved down my throat. Um, and like two, it's, I don't know, it just feels more like it feels like we're getting to spend more time with those characters, like, you know, Halia, like we're able to like really focus on her, I feel like, and kind of like she's a new character, and rather than her being one of like 50, you know, I don't know the exact number that are in this set, but it's like giving it more space to kind of like, you know, space to breathe a little bit with like the story and kind of really, you know, give them the attention they deserve.
Yeah, Chris is pointing out in chat, recent sets have usually been around 30 or so legendary creatures. This one has a very svelte 15 legends in it. So major departure from what we've seen from recent design sets. But I think, Andrew, to your point, not only are we getting to spend more time with these legends, but we're getting to spend time with these legends because we see them grow from their uncommon versions through to their rare and mythic versions too. So we actually see the blame Chris has come out on that one. We see the kind of passage of time for some of these characters, which is really interesting to see how they evolve as well. Some of them gaining colors, some of them losing colors, and seeing their journey as characters. Clay, how do you feel about the fewer legends in this set and the multiple versions of the same characters?
So before Final Fantasy, I would have said that like there's never too many legends, and that like I want variety in my building, right? And then trying to just parse how many legendary creatures there are in the Final Fantasy set kind of gave me, I think, the feeling other people had for War of the Spark, which I mentioned earlier, when all of a sudden there were 36 planeswalkers in one standard legal set, and everybody was like, I can't deal with this. Ordinarily, I'm a big fan of having the like two versions or like 2 or 3 versions of the same character, so you can kind of see them like before and after. I do think that when you only have 15 legends, having like almost, you know what I mean? Like it's like you basically have 7 characters. You know, like does that make sense? And so like that feels a little rougher when it's so limited, like that. But you know, at the same time, I know that Wizards is trying to scale back that a little bit, and I think it makes sense with Universes Beyond products are naturally going to have more legends in them because you want to have the characters from the IP. That's what people are going to want to see. So that makes sense. But I do, that was something that struck me like immediately with the set was that how few legends that there were. And like, I mean, it didn't ruin it for me. Like it didn't like turn me off of the set, but I was kind of like, damn, like there's one deck I want to build. Whereas normally my brain will start picking, I'm like that one, and then I don't build any of them. But you know, it's how it goes with ADHD. But but I, to bring that all back, I get what they're doing and I can appreciate it. But I hope that in the future, if there are fewer commander possibilities, that we get more diversity among characters so that we can kind of get more people to feel and touch.
Right. Absolutely. Andrew.
Real quick, I just want to go back because I wanted to chime in and say there is one critique I have about the number of commanders in this set, and that is I wish that they had given us a legendary Kavu's Matter commander.
Yeah.
And they didn't, and I was so mad. Because Kavu's in, you know, previous Magic lore, I think they're so cool. And when they showed us a couple Kavus, I was like, hell yeah, what's going to happen? We're going to have a Kavu typo commander. Let's go. And then it didn't happen.
Now that they're reintroduced, it might be coming in the future. We might see something around them, fingers crossed. But I would love to be able to play a Flame Tongue Kavu in a commander deck once again. That would give me the feels from playing standard back in the day.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anna, how do you feel about the more limited amount of legends in the set, and specifically about the 2 versions of each legend in the set?
Okay, so I have a few thoughts on this, but first I have to circle back to there being too many legendary creatures for the Final Fantasy set, because I have to say, I actually don't think that there's enough legendary creatures, because many of my favorite characters from the early games were left out. Like 2 separate purple-haired pirates were left out. Where's Ferris from Final Fantasy V? Where's Leela from Final Fantasy II? We could have had so many more legendary creatures. I think they took it easy on you. We could have easily had way more. But now I'm gonna actually circle back to the question at hand. Sorry, that's an aside. Coming back to your question, I'm actually totally okay with there only being 15 legendary creatures, because there are also legendary spacecraft. And especially with this new rule shift that lets you have legendary vehicles, or now legendary spacecraft as your commanders, I feel like that's actually incentivizing people to explore this new design space. And I think that that's really neat, and I really like them. So I'm pretty excited about that. As for having multiple versions of the characters, this is something that I was curious about when Lord of the Rings happened, because I don't know if you can see my fancy Lord of the Rings book behind me, but I'm also Lord of the Rings girly. I read the Silmarillion multiple times when I was younger. And so of course I'm where's Gilgamesh? I need I know Gilgalad. I need all these other characters and I wanted everybody. And so then I'm like, why do I have so many versions of Aragorn? But then as I played it and as I kind of dug into the set, I really appreciated seeing these characters in different moments of their journey, you know? And so I think that having that not only in Universes Beyond sets, but also here now in these in-universe sets, being able to see these characters at different moments in their story, I think is really cool. And people can play Magic and never interact with the story at all. And I think that's beautiful. They could be that there's a story. I don't never seen that. Or they might really dive into the story. And I think both are cool. And so having a way to kind of, even if you don't engage with the story at all, kind of check in with this character at different moments in their life, I think is really cool. And so I'm a huge fan of it. I'm glad that they're doing that. And I like spacecraft. And there weren't enough legendaries in Final Fantasy. So those are my 3 points. Thank you for coming to my answer. That's it.
99 legends in Final Fantasy, and it still wasn't.
And it was not enough. We lost so many of our girl characters from the early games. This is going to be my soapbox. I'm going to stop right here. But games 1 through 5, there'd be multiple girls in the party, like Maria. She's one of the main characters in Final Fantasy 2. And Firion has 2 card versions. Where's Maria? Where's Leela? What's happening? So anyway, yeah, no. Not enough.
It's just so we can go back. We can have Final Fantasy 2, and we can do the other 160 legends.
We can cover Dissidia.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Good. I'm on board now.
With a PSP, the actual in the artwork, the logo.
Perfect.
I'm glad we got the viral hot take clip moment. Sound off in the comments. What do you think? Too few? Too many?
Anna Margaret smacks down the streamer.
Amazing. Tom,
I've been too many niche characters from early Final Fantasy games. As I fall off a chair.
Tom, how do you feel about the only dozen or so legends in this set and 2 versions of each character?
I'm embarrassed to admit I did not realize there were so few, because I have been building more from them than us. Maybe it's because they're the ones that really are really tickled my fancy, but I am off screen is such a mess right now. I'm I have my cup runneth over with building commander stuff. So but and I think Anna Margaret has a great point, which is that if there is ever a time to suddenly bring an influx of new possibilities of commanders, it is during a set where there might not be a ton, because I think that's really just opened a ton in the commander building world. And of course I'm always gonna be a glass half full guy and say that just means more in the 99, baby. Eternity Elevator, I saw that, I'm I know where this is going. Anything that's not legendary, that's just more for Kiki Jiki, baby. I have not noticed it too much. And then I think everyone's already said, but the seeing a character multiple times, I think, especially when the story feels so time bendy. It's cool. And yeah.
Yeah, I love seeing character growth across multiple cards, and we typically see that across multiple sets. Seeing that in one set where we see character growth like this does really help us endear ourselves to some of these characters, and we're joining them at the pinnacle of their adventure right now. It's classic storytelling. If this is not the most important moment in the character's life, why are you telling the story? So we get to see these characters in the lead up to the most important part of their lives all in one set, which is very interesting storytelling to do in an enclosed set like this. It is the most expansive set space wise and distance wise, but it seems like it's the most enclosed set from a story standpoint, which is honestly appreciated. It's a nice dichotomy in there. So I do want to let everybody know that we've got about 30 minutes left. We're going to answer a couple more questions for the table, and then we'll get into our audience questions as well. So audience out there, you've got about 30 minutes left, a little less than 30 minutes to get your donations in for a chance to win some of our prizes tonight. Hit Command Donate in chat and donate in $5 increments to help support the Trevor Project, and you can get your chance to win an Infinitokens prize pack or a Commander Precon from Edge of Eternities. And if you want to ask a question of the panel, be sure to redeem the Ask a Question channel points redemption as well, so that we can see the question you want answered. All right. So want to get into a little bit about some of our favorite cards from the set, starting with some of our favorite arts from the set. Really unique art in this set, especially just based on the setting alone. Andrew, big fan of some of the art that you've done for the packaging here. Absolutely. Do you have any favorite arts from inside the set? There we go. Tom's showing off some of Andrew's
Thanks,
work
Tom.
right there.
I can't wait to see that box in person this Friday. Like, yeah, I'm very proud of that piece. That is one of my favorite pieces I've ever done for Magic. When it comes to the art in the set, I have a soft spot for there's like, oh shoot, what is the name of the card? I think it's the Warp Angel, but it's the alt art version of it with the big like graphic moon behind it. Basically any of the cards that have the big graphic moon and then like a cool character in front of it, like the affinity for artifacts to all your spells, legend. I love that art. I love was it Mystic Confluence? The alt art of that. Ooh, that's also very good. But I think it's maybe a different angel.
I think they're called
That
the
one.
triumphant cards. They have like the
Okay.
16 cards they've with like the triumphant frame.
Okay. Thanks for I did not know that that's what they were called.
I might be making that up, but that's what I think.
Yeah. But I like the Reclaimer right there. That one's probably one of my absolute favorites in the set.
Definitely right up your alley.
Yeah, like I saw that one. I was just like, that's going to be a card that I get with no deck in mind, just for the art. And I've started to do that more lately. I've started to just collect cards just with cool art. And I started doing it before Aether Drift, but Aether Drift, especially the like Graffiti Gear Hulks, was a set that I was like, I must own all of these because each one looks amazing. So I would say definitely like these, these art treatments. I love the lands are really cool. Like I said, the Mystic Confluence, all the man lands, like the Lava Claw Reaches. I think they knocked those out of the park with the like more graphic style ones of those. Even the more realistic ones are really great too, but I'd have a soft spot for the more graphic ones. And then I also want to shout out one of my very good buddies. This is his first set in doing Magic cards, and one of his cards is Lost in Space. My buddy Alan Panicle, and he also did the Terramorphic Expanse that's in the Commander decks.
I have it here because I was gonna say that's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
Nice.
he's gonna be at MagicCon Atlanta, so you can get that signed.
Awesome.
But yeah, so that was really cool getting to see his art in the set, because he's wanted to work, for Magic for a while, and has been talking to the art directors just like I was before, I started working with them. And so it's been really cool to like, see people excited about these cards.
Amazing. That Terramorphic Expanse is hands down my favorite version of the card
It's
ever
so
printed.
good.
It is so good.
It's so good.
Anna, you mentioned earlier that you've got a favorite art in the set when the card came up.
Oh yeah, one of my I'm a big Miku fan, and that one particular she looks like Space Miku. I just think it's super fun. Now that you've like put me on the spot, wait, let me see if I remember the name. Starfield Vocalist. I just thought that was so fun, and I love her. Actually, I think kind of echoing what Andrew said, all the art in the set is just absolutely so beautiful. Like there's so many fun art treatments. Like the showcase, like the Japanese showcase cards, like the Starfield Vocalist are beautiful. They have this very like surreal there's like a whole set of like art depictions. I think they're called the surreal space cards. There's one that's called like Beyond the Quiet, which just like
Yes.
is haunting because like I love space. Like I'm obsessed with space, but I also think space is terrifying. Like there's no sound in space. Like there's not enough there to like, that we would hear sound. And I just think that that would be terrifying. So I thought that was really beautiful. I really liked the basic lands. I like the move to have more full art basics. I already want all of my decks to have these full art basics, so that's going to be tricky, but I think they're beautiful. And like the last kind of thing I'll comment on is they have the borderless special guest cards in this set that look like old sci-fi novel covers or like movie covers, and I just think that's just so fun. Like I think of, all the sci-fi books I have on my shelf, like Dune, Foundation, Rendezvous with Rama. These cards feel like they should be the cover of a sci-fi novel that I get to read. And so I think all the art in the set is absolutely phenomenal. And I'm a huge fan. But yeah, the Starfield Vocalist, I remember seeing that and being like, oh, I need that card. It's so pretty. Do I need to cosplay it? Like, so cute.
For Beyond the Quiet, I think the artist recently released a time lapse of them making that piece, which is just absolutely incredible.
Serena
Absolutely.
killed that. Like that
No,
piece. I'm so mad at myself for forgetting to mention that piece. Like
It's
it's
so
good.
beautiful.
I
It's haunting.
I-
It feels haunting, and I think it's just absolutely stunning.
I did also go back just to double check, but there was a really cool post on Blue Sky. Somebody was talking about it, and Sarita confirmed it. But like that art style is meant to invoke the inverted space photography, the way that when we are taking photos of the cosmos and then have to invert them, and like so like the black dots and stuff, it's how we're imaging. And so like it's not only is it gorgeous, but then it is also like a nod to the technical realities that our science has with the way that we interact and view the cosmos. That's just
very cool. Very cool. Tom, how about you? How about some of your favorite arts from the set?
It's all of it. I was dreading this question because I wrote down a lot. I won't go through every single one, but someone in chat was like, is there a style that you wish they did? And I was like, I think they did them all. There's the retro stuff, the like very like actually like the cover of, like a
Pulp.
paperback. There's like really like sleek modern sci-fi, there's retro sci-fi, and then the I mentioned at the start the even the like the basic lands that aren't full art, they're all like look like star photography, and I love them. Yeah, but I mean anything that manages to, and so many of them do, the capture the sense of scale. There's one Quantum Riddler that I remember when I saw it, I was like, oh, it's a Sphinx in it, and then I realized there's like a ship that shows like what it is to scale. And I was like, oh my god. But I think if I have to pick the one, it is Contested Warzone. And it's this version of it. I know there's two versions of it, but this one by, I believe, Josu Solano, it might not read on the screen, but I looked at it and I was like, how is it possible to fit that much like detail. It's like each dot is like a tiny ship, and I was like mesmerized by it. So yeah, that one. They're all so good. Art's cool. I think art's cool. Hey, this is a hot take. You clip this for a hot take. I think art is cool.
Whoa. Yeah, we'll all react to that. We'll all pog face to that one. Clay, how about you? Favorite arts from the set?
Oh my god! So I'm glad we already got Beyond the Quiet out of the way, so I don't have to make that one of mine. I really like for the regular art set, the angels, all of the space angels, the colors and the style. Like I didn't know that I wanted like celestial angels, but that's my favorite like conceptual thing to come out of the set. And then there's the like not that he went away, but this feels like a set that Dominic Mayer just like had like a bunch of just like he's one of my favorite Magic artists, and like every couple sets it feels like he just has like the whole spread of like Gravkill is probably the one that like is one that like every time I look at it I just am staring at it for a while. It's unbelievable. And then the like I mentioned the StarCraft, but the Eumidian art style with like Terra Symbiosis or use social engineering, I think is the other one, where it's like you have them in the line. There's this like cool green orange like balance. Like it's just such a cool thing that feels very distinctly them out that faction outside of like the rest of the set. And then there was one last one that I was that I had. Where was it? It's like when you've got like 8 tabs open, you're trying to flip back and forth between cards.
I was like, Gravkill was also one of the cards I set aside.
Yeah, it's just so it's unbelievable. Oh, so they are the triumphant cards. That is the treatment. Anna Margaret was correct. The Starwinder, the like space Leviathan, that blue pink is almost exactly my ideal color palette. It is so gorgeous. And like the space whales in general are cool. They're like kind of like the angels, where just like again the ocean and space are the same, and the things that inhabit both can be beautiful and terrifying. But like they're all cool in front of the moon. Like I love that art style, but that one just speaks to me. And yeah, I think that's it art wise. I mean everything, the whole set, the commander, like the product, everything. But
yeah, these triumphant arts I'm a big fan of as well. I love the space and the contrast. One of my favorites is Servandum Sunstar Exemplar. The blue and orange on that one just is such a good tickle right there. Like, look at how gorgeous that is. Absolutely love it. But yeah, absolute home run this set. Art all over the place. S tier, without a doubt. So we're about to get into our audience questions, but we're going to do a quick little rapid fire around the table. What about our favorite cards from the set? We've talked about our favorite art, but favorite cards from the set. And are you building anything? So we'll go around really quickly. Name 1 or 2 cards that are your favorites from the set. And are you going to build anything new? Tom, you had mentioned that you are working on a new brew already. How about some of your favorite cards and what you're working on?
Yeah, definitely that Tannic warp commander has been so fun to build, and then digging through old stuff to build that. The lobster, that's for me. The gastronaut. Love that.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite to break or to build sillily is, I know everyone loves Kilo, and proliferate is with that is gonna be wild. I am building a deck that does not have any +1 counters, and I think the most like indicative the deck is going to be called Kilo on the Fritz, and I think the most indicative card for the vibe I want is Fishing Pole, because it taps him, but then also you puts a bait counter on it, and I'm like, this is the vibe. Is I want the strangest counters and the weirdest ways to tap him. So yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Andrew, favorite cards, and are you building anything?
Yeah, I've just been frantically pulling up some cards to flip through. I'm really excited for. I love Famished World Sire, partially for the art. I'm a huge Kev Walker fan, and seeing a new Kev Walker piece in a set always makes me excited. But also, this thing just has like such fun potential. Especially going back to some of my favorite cards are like, what's it called? Killing Mouth Dragon, which has Amplify 3, and this just has big Kill Mouth Dragon energy of just like, I'm gonna play this big old creature, we're gonna sacrifice a bunch of things, and then you gotta deal with this. So I love the Famished World Sire. I might put it, I have a landfall deck. I also love Sammy Wildcat Captain. I've always had a soft spot for affinity for artifacts, so trying to figure out a deck that maybe it can go into. I don't know if I'll build another Boros artifacts deck, but I'm definitely going to pick up the champion art of it because I love it. I'm also really excited about Uthros, the Titanic God Core. That one I'm really excited about because I just love artifacts. When I first started playing Magic, it was like at the tail end of the Mirrodin block. So for me, like, I have such a soft spot for, Mycosynth Lattice, Mycosynth Golem, Darksteel Colossus, and like, all those blue cards that cared about artifacts, like the Vidalcan Archmage that lets you, draw a card whenever you cast an artifact. I've been working on this in Moxfield right now for the last couple of days. I love modular, and I already mentioned that earlier, but I decided to take my Zabaz deck, and it's going to become a Kilo deck, running as many modular things as I possibly can in it, and trying not to go too oops combo, because the first version of the deck, when I started putting it together in Moxfield, I was like, oh, this is just going to go like infinite so fast, and it's going to just search out those enchantments that let me tap Kilo. So I kind of revamped it, took out some of those things, made it a little bit harder to go infinite with it, but still has modular. So I'm excited. I hope it's fun.
Nice.
And yet another artifact deck for me to have.
Can't have enough.
I have Glissa, I have Mendicant, and I have Zabaz right now.
Nice. Awesome.
How many of those have fishing pole?
None of them, actually.
Yes.
But they all have mirrors in them because I love the Kev Walker mirrors.
Nice. Anna, how about you? Favorite cards from the set, and are you building anything?
Yes. Okay. So I really liked the Hearthhole, the World Seed, the spacecraft commander from the precon, the World Shaper precon. And so I think I've already sort of been plotting how I'm going to upgrade this precon or kind of make it my own and kind of transform it into a deck that can be mine. I don't actually have a deck in that particular color combination. I've never built one, so I'm kind of excited. I think that's fun. That's a project I have. Also, just another card that would be fun to shout out is the Biotech Specialist card. Is the first scientist type card we have that's not from a Universes Beyond or an unset. We did have a scientist card that showed up in Unfinity, and then we also got one in Doctor Who, but this is the first scientist card that's not in an unset or Universes Beyond set. So that's kind of fun. It's not legendary, so you can't have your scientist typal yet, but I guess you could have them all like scientists on a spaceship or something, if that's like, maybe.
Just wait till the next big creature type pass again, and we'll get a bunch more scientists.
Look out, it'll be a scientist set. But anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny. As I was looking through the cards, I saw that. It was like, oh, that's awesome. So yeah, there's a scientist card in the set.
I'm sure that they'll go back and they'll turn a bunch of the Simic Combine cards from Ravnica into scientists, because they definitely should be.
Oh yeah, totally. And I see in the chat, like Jurassic Park also had a scientist. So they've definitely been in Universes Beyond sets as well as unsets, but this is the first like mainline Magic scientist.
Yeah. Awesome. And Clay, how about you? Favorite cards, and are you building anything?
So I keep doing spins on Kilo, and I have just kind of come to the conclusion that I don't think I can do Kilo because I can't control myself and the amount of like brain drain and like moving parts that I'm going to do if I do Kilo. So we'll see if that changes. But like right now, I'm like I can't do that. So as far as like cards that I'm looking at, I'm a counters tokens person at heart. So a lot of I keep talking about the Eumidian cards, but stuff like Loading Zone or Terra Symbiosis are all cards that I'm like, I need multiple copies of this to go into the various decks. The last card I'll shout out is for the Chris Behind the Curtain, which is Orplate Pangolin.
Yeah.
As always, a cause of celebration whenever we get a new pangolin in Magic. So that one is for you, buddy. And and then decks that I'm looking at building. Menemenon. Because I just like I just can't help myself. The moment I don't remember who it was originally I saw on TikTok. Like the moment it was previewed, somebody like made a TikTok with that and the scene, and I'm just like who doesn't love a jellyfish? But then also just like, and I can't help myself. I'm gonna do it. Yeah, right. I don't know if I'm gonna stick with the mono blue one or the red one. I think the blue one I like better, but I always like having access to more colors. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, between mono blue, Menemenon, and the reality chip from Kamigawa, it seems like jellyfish have a tendency to look at the top of your library and play stuff from the top of your library, which is just a nice little overlap there.
I really want. Now I just want to build a tongue twister deck with Asmarana, Geistinakul and then see how long it takes people to realize what the theme is.
Yeah,
Fibblethip, the homunculi.
Oh, the homunculi. Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Well, let's get to some of our audience questions, and then we'll wrap up, announce our winners, and we're going to be rating Mr. Bevers, friend of the channel, in just a little bit too. So first question from the audience from Cyrone119. Is there a character that you desperately wanted to appear in space in some way? Anybody from Magic's history or lore that you wanted to see venture into space? Tom.
Looks like you have. Hold on. I want to make sure. I'm blanking on the name. I had a thing and then I instantly lost it. I apologize. No, I got it. When the people were joking because there's the concept of the eternal faller, is that right? Or the idea that there is someone, at the center of or who is related to this black hole, and people were joking about who it could be, and I was like, it'd be so funny if it was just Norin. And the idea of the card Norin, ever falling was just perfect. I'm like, that's exactly what. So I was like that, and also, of course, who could be more lost than Fibblethip in space? I feel like that's also like.
Absolutely. I think that's a good one. Fibblethip totally lost in space would be perfect, right? Anna, anybody that you would have liked to have seen in space?
Yeah. So I love Elspeth. She's one of my favorite planeswalkers, and I love her story. And I also just love the motif of like, kind of, you alluded to this before with like angels and whales in space. Like, I think it was like 1962 was the first time. Somebody should double check me on that date, but I think that's the first time we saw like whales in space and like a sci-fi like short story. And so I kind of love the vibes. Somebody should double check me. I think I'm right, but I'm not sure. I think it's the 60s. But I wanted her to be in space because I think angels in space are lovely. But then also, I'll give you another aside. Well, I'm spewing hot takes. I love the attractions mechanic from Unfinity. It reminded me a lot of like the Boons deck in Dominion, and I liked that. And so I was probably the only one, because I know most people didn't like the attraction stick, but I was wondering if that was a mechanic that might come back, and it obviously didn't. And so those were two that I would have maybe liked to see.
I would have loved to have seen Elspeth with the cosmic wings that the
Yeah,
Space
me
Angels have.
too.
Wouldn't that
And
be incredible?
And I feel like she's one of the planeswalkers that like could have maybe been there, you know,
Yeah.
with like her story and her lore. Someone in chat saying 1968. I was close. I was definitely
You're close.
close.
Nice. Andrew, anybody you would have liked to have seen in space?
So I have a couple. One that's thematic that I think would be kind of fun, like a reference to sci-fi tropes of like kind of in Star Wars, where it's like you're on the ship and you see so many different types of characters and like all these different like alien races and like weird little robots from like strange planets and stuff like that. I think it would have been great if we got like Urtet, like the mirror guy, like just a random mirror, a random thing from like Mirrodin just like got off the planet on accident somehow and just ended up in Edge of Eternities. Like, because I could just imagine you like if Edge of Eternities was a video game, you'd get to like a spaceport and you could like go up to a shopkeep and it's just Urtet and he just like pops out a bunch of stuff from his little backpack. Like that would be a fun one. And then the really selfish one is Zabaz, because I just want my little buzz boy in space, because they all the Arcbound and modular creatures look like they should belong in this set anyway. And then I think funny wise, it'd be great to have like Tiny Bones and just like have all these little like all of his little bones just floating in space, and he's just kind of like
Oh, funny.
like,
that'd be
so
great.
those are my answers.
Nice. Clay, anybody you would have liked to have seen in space?
So first off, double tip. Thank you, Tom, for hitting that one, because that was immediately where my brain went. But kind of in a similar vein, because it's kind of just like the next step to from Dominaria, but Slimefoot. I love my boy. Seeing him on the Weatherlight was awesome. Like, and so just like Slimefoot in space. Like, let's take the Saproings up there. That's what I want to see. But as far as like actual like flavor, story, and stuff, and it's cool that that Anna Margaret's here for this one. But Zimone is somebody that I would like, with all of like the space and the science and like math and like that kind of. She just feels perfect there in a way that not a lot of legendaries I feel like adapt as easily to a new environment like that. And so she's probably like my number one like real answer, and then number two is Ralzeric.
Oh yeah,
like those two I feel like would both be super badass.
Nice. I would have loved to have seen Karn in space. I mean, Karn's sentient construct can be out in the void of space harmlessly, kind of thing. Would be great to see him exploring in his now desparked state, going from planet to planet, or just like floating out there in the void. I think that would be a very Karn thing to do. Okay, second of our audience questions, coming off of our new hat in-universe sets, like to Edge of Eternities, we get more of like a straight sci-fi set here rather than something fun or something funny like an Aether Drift or Thunder Junction hat sets, as they were. Do you miss any of these tongue-in-cheek, fun kind of references for something more straight like this sci-fi set? Or is it welcome to have a more played straight set like this? And we'll go around really quick because I do want to make sure that we're wrapping up on time. So Clay, what do you think? Do you like a more straight set like this, or do you like some more of those tongue-in-cheek references?
I like both. I think both are fine. I think that I don't think that they're as like hat sets are as tongue-in-cheek as a lot of people like. I think it's just cool to have like a consistent style motif, and there's an Among Us reference in this one, so like we're still goofing, so it's fine. I mean, it's you got to change it up, but I'm cool either way.
That card is vote out.
Yes. Yeah, Amogus. Definitely sus. Andrew, Do you like the more straight sets, or would you like to see more kind of tongue-in-cheek references?
Similar to Clay, I like both. The only problem I have with the tongue-in-cheek sets, especially the examples you gave, was how kind of close together they were. And it's just like, okay, like we already had one of these pretty recently, and like it's especially with how fast sets come out in recent years. So it's one of those things where it's like, is it mostly the, straightforward, like kind of serious sets, and then like occasionally fun sets in between, kind of like little filler episodes of Naruto? Like I just imagine like the Naruto like filler music starts playing and we appear at Thunder Junction. But yeah, there's no like real good answer to like fix that problem like that some people have with them. But I think the answer is both for me.
Cool. Anna, how do you feel? The straight sets, the cheeky sets, what do you prefer?
I like everything, as long as it like is interesting and fun and nice art. I'm very easy to please. I do think though that there's a note that like even the kind of like straight sets do have the tongue-in-cheek references, or even if they're not tongue-in-cheek references, I do think that there's always like a wealth of references in sets. I was joking about the Dyson Sphere earlier. Like I know I cackled when I saw that. I was like, oh, great. Like so well, like so awesome. And so I feel like lots of Magic, I think they've always kind of had a balance of like these funny references and also serious story beats. And even like the sets you're pointing out, like Thunder Junction still, like if you go through the story, like had some really like interesting like story beats and like cool cards and great mechanics too. So I like a balance. I like it all.
Very cool. Tom, how about you?
I think this set nailed the balance. With regards to the fact that I can eat my soul ring, that's the funniest thing a set's done in a long time for me. I think that's hilarious. But yeah, I think this balance has been my ideal.
Nice. I am insistent that Ragost is just Zoidberg from Futurama, right? Eats inappropriate things. He stinks up the room. He's a lobster man. I mean, come on, it's 1-to-1, right? It's gotta be a direct reference. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap up here. I want to give everybody a chance to let us know again who you are and where we can find you before we announce our winners and go rate our friend Mr. Bevers. So, Anna, why don't you tell us who you are, where we can find you, and once again, thank you for joining us again.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so great chatting with all of you. You're all amazing. My name's Anna Margaret. You can find me everywhere online at It's Anna Margaret, and in person at Gen Con soon. So if you're there, come say hi.
Amazing. Thanks again for coming out. Tom, thanks for joining us for the first time. Why don't you let everybody know again who you are and where we can find you?
I am Tom Lum. I do science videos at various places. Keep an eye out. But all of that will be on my socials wherever I am in the internet.
Amazing. Thanks again for joining us. Andrew, thanks for coming out to another one of our roundtables. Why don't you let everybody know who you are and where we can find you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been really fun talking about this set and everything. I'm Schmandrew Art. You can find me at Schmandrew Art everywhere, social media, website at schmandrewart.com. And you can also, like Anna Margaret, find me at Gen Con in like a week and a half. And I'll be debuting these babies.
Hey.
So we got the Edge of Eternities playmat. And then I'll also show you guys a little something special. Every year at Gen Con, I do a Gen Con exclusive mat. And this one will be foiled, but right now I just got them in before the stream. This is going to be the Gen Con exclusive, which is
gorgeous.
an older illustration of mine that never existed as a playmat. So this is the first time it's available as a playmat. And it will be foiled, but they are Gen Con exclusives.
Very cool.
So if you're going to be at Gen Con, definitely check it out.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again for coming out, Andrew. Looking forward to our next roundtable where we have you out, and looking forward to your next pieces in the Magic set as well. And Clay, as always, thank you, my friend, for holding it down, being my anchor here. Why don't you let everybody know who you are and where we can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, thanks everybody both for taking part in this on the panel and for everybody in chat. I'm Claybee. I'm part of the C&C Power Hour. We co-host this with Chris. Each time a Magic set comes out, we raise money for a good cause, bring friends from around the community to talk about it, and it's always like the highlight of the Magic cycle for me is getting to do these. You can find me on the internet anywhere you search Claybee. I don't know if I'm going to make it inside Gen Con yet, but I will be on the sidewalk, probably outside, since it is in my
windows.
it is in my home city, so I will be just around in the vicinity. I just don't know if I'm gonna like get a badge, make it inside yet. But yeah, that's me.
Amazing.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks again for coming out. And folks, as always, I am Chris and I am your Commander Mechanic. You can find me everywhere by looking for the orange wrench. That's this guy. I wanted to thank everybody in the audience for coming out and announce our winners. The winner of our Infinitokens prize pack is Soren and Vigo. Congratulations. And the winner of our Infinitokens prize pack is Mishatem. Congratulations, Mishatem. Congratulations. And thanks everybody for joining in and all of your generous donations. Do stick around because we are going to be rating our friend Mr. Bevers in just a moment. All right. Thanks, everybody. And hey, hope everybody enjoys Edge of Eternities for pre-release this weekend. Good luck, folks. All right.